the invasion triggered World War II and proved conclusively that the policy of appeasement had failed. Fuhrer broke agreements. Hitler's plan to start a war and expand Nazi Germany territory should not have come as a surprise to Chamberlain, as the Fuhrer was known for breaking international agreements. Post-war peace conditions clearly stated Germany's limitations. The country could not build an air force and could only have a minimum of soldiers and warships. However, since taking power in 1933, Hitler had rearmed as fast as German industry would allow. Contrary to international agreements, he built a huge army, a powerful fleet, and a modern air force. Rearmament was no secret either. During the so-called National Party Day in Nuremberg in 1935, Hitler paraded long columns of soldiers. He also announced plans to increase Germany's military strength. Britain did nothing to prevent the development. In fact, in June 1935, the country's government had signed an agreement with the Germans that allowed the Nazi regime to increase its fleet. World War I horrors lurked in the wings. But British kindness did not dampen German aggression. Nazi Germany annexed Austria in March 1938 without Western powers intervening. A few days later, on 14th of March, Hitler made a triumphant entry into Vienna. Nothing seemed to stop the dictator. "Czechoslovakia is next," he proclaimed joyfully when he came home from Austria. Nazi success was not for Hitler's benefit alone. Peace following World War I had created a new Europe with new countries and borders in Central and Eastern Europe. At the same time, the victors established that all peoples had the right to self-determination. The Fuhrer took advantage of the self-determination principle to legitimize the Nazi annexation of the Czech Sudetenland by referencing the German majority who lived there. In addition, Hitler was not blind to the fact that the Sudetenland also contained 66% of Czechoslovakian coal reserves, 70% of its iron and steel plants, and the country's largest arms producer. During World War I, just 20 years earlier, the British had lost more than 740,000 men dead or missing, while France's losses were nearly 1.4 million. The great powers would go a long way to avoid a repeat of the carnage. Moreover, very few Britons believed that in the light of the 1930s economic crisis, that Britain had the money and military muscle to wage war. The crisis also led to ideological concerns. Labor riots, strikes, and social unrest caused the country's middle and upper classes to fear communism, and especially the influence of the Soviet Union. In the eyes of the British government, Nazi Germany represented the most effective bulwark against the Soviet state and the Bolshevik advance. So the tone was conciliatory towards Germany when, on 27th of September 1938, Chamberlain spoke to the nation via BBC radio. The Germans invaded Czechoslovakia. How horrible, fantastic, incredible it is that we should be digging trenches and trying on gas masks here because of a quarrel in a faraway country between people of whom we know nothing, Chamberlain pointed out in his speech, referring to the German-Czech dispute over the Sudetenland. War is a fearful thing, and we must be very clear, before we embark on it, that it is really the great issues that are at stake, he continued. In Berlin, Hitler was informed of the speech, and a few hours later the phone rang in the British Foreign Office. The Fuhrer would like to invite Chamberlain to Munich, along with the French leader Édouard Daladier. 3 days later, on 30th of September, the Prime Minister returned from his visit to Hitler, waving his white piece of paper. The horrors of war had been averted, the British leader asserted. Instead, the British could look forward to peace. Chamberlain and the rest of the British population should, perhaps, have been wiser. Hitler not only took over the Sudetenland, in March 1939, he also occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. This is the